woe to the Pharisees. Woe to the Pharisees, which is Luke 11. Luke 11, 37 through 54.
Luke 11:37. And as he spoke, a certain Pharisee asked him to dine with him. So he went in and sat down to eat. And when the Pharisee saw it, he marveled that he did not first wash before dinner. And the master said to him, now you Pharisees make the outside of the cup and dish clean, but your inward part is filled with greed and wickedness. Mindless ones, do not he who made the outside make the inside also? But give in kindness of that which is within, and see, all are clean to you. But woe to you Pharisees, because you tithe the mint and the rue and every plant, and pass by the right ruling and the love of Elohim. These you should have done without leaving the others undone. Woe to you Pharisees, because you love the best seats in the congregation and the greetings in the marketplaces. Woe to you scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you are like the unseen tombs, and the men walking over them do not know. And one of those learned in the Torah, answering, said to him, Teacher, when you say this, you insult us too. And he said, woe to you also, you learned in the Torah, because you load men with burdens hard to bear, and you yourself do not touch the burdens with one of your fingers. Woe to you, because you build the tombs of the prophets, and your fathers killed them. So you bear witness that you approve of the works of your fathers, because they indeed killed them, and you built their tombs. And because of this, the wisdom of Elohim said, I shall send them prophets and emissaries, and some of them they shall kill and persecute, so that the blood of all the prophets which was shed from the foundation of the world shall be required of this generation, from the blood of Hebel to the blood of Zechariah, who perished between the slaughter place and the dwelling place. Yes, I say to you, it shall be required of this generation. Woe to you learned in the Torah, because you took away the key of knowledge. You do not enter in yourselves, and those who were entering in you hindered. And he was saying this to them. The scribes and the Pharisees began to oppose him fiercely and to draw him out on many subjects, watching him and seeking to catch him in whatever he says, so as to accuse him.
All right. Very good. So let's go back up and look at what's going on over here. We go back up. It seems seemingly an innocent kind of a thing. You know, Yeshua, he's speaking, and as he spoke to this certain Pharisee, the Pharisee's like, "Hey man, why don't you come back to the crib? You know, let's sit down and eat. Let's have a little, you know what I'm saying, break bread." Mm-hmm. You know, it seems innocent enough. But when you think about these Pharisees, they were already, it talks about at the end where, you know, they kind of, you know, after this point, they kind of more so seek to challenge him in various things. But it seems like to me that, you know, these Pharisees, they kind of loved already to challenge Yeshua, but when they did so, you know, they would end up kind of looking silly, at the end to the people. In the eyes of the people, Yeshua, he would always kind of foil their plans of challenging. It would never end up with, people kind of turn away from him, but more so they would probably turn away from the Pharisees and kind of, reverse the thing that they were trying to do. And so this kind of, was kind of a genius idea. Well, they still want to challenge Yeshua, but let's do it over here in the comfort of one of these Pharisees' home, where it's not in public. They can, they'll have, there'll be people there, more Pharisees and probably more people that will learn the Torah, more lawyers. But it won't have all of the standbyers to kind of, witness the things that was going to happen. So, yes, they wouldn't be publicly humiliated, but they'll do their things in private. So it seems like this was kind of a strategic move that they were doing to kind of alleviate the embarrassment that would potentially happen, when they went and, tried to do their attacks that they were doing. And so when we look at 38, I don't know if because of what we've seen previously where Yeshua's disciples are accused of eating this or that without unwashed hands, and they just were saying, well, let's just have him over and see what he do. I'm sure that they probably had their list ready, and then Yeshua, he just, this is what he does, and kind of impromptu, this is part of their kind of dismay of what's going on. So in 38, they saw what happened. He comes in, he sits down to dine, and it says that they're marveled. It says they're marveled that he did not first wash before dinner. Now, first of all, I want to just look at really fast in verse 38, that word, they're marveled. Pull that word, they're marveled up in verse 38. Put that up there because this is something that they just was like, they couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe it, that it was to wonder, right? To marvel. Other places where this word to marvel is used, and Yeshua marvels at these people's faith, right? It's kind of in a good way. And so, but the idea is this extreme wonder about a thing. Now they were, had this marvel about the fact that he didn't wash. But what I want to say is that when we talk about him not washing, it's not about him not, washing dirt off of his hands. It's not about the fact that he has like dirty hands and he didn't even wash his hands before he ate. Look at that word there for wash. He did not first wash. Pull that word up. Baptizo. So the word baptizo isn't about washing off physical dirt. Right? It's about a ceremonial washing. Right? The same thing that we think about when we think about being immersed. It's not about taking a bath. It's not about soap or anything like that. It's a ceremonial process that's happening. And when we think about the fact that Yeshua here doesn't wash, it's about the fact that he don't take the ceremonial cup and fill it with water and rinse off the one hand, and while he does that, say a specific prayer, and then take that same cup and fill it up with water and pour it on the other hand and say a particular thing while he's doing it. It don't have anything to do with washing dirt off of his hands, and it only has something to do with the tradition that there was to wash away any type of ceremonial uncleanness and maybe even devil fingers off of yourself before you eat. You know, because if you come out from outside, you might have brushed up upon a demon.
Oh, I thought you was talking about, like, when you said devil finger, I was thinking about the Cheeto finger. I don't know why that popped in my head.
Not the Cheeto finger. but kind of metaphorically, though, yes. From a traditional standpoint, you're out in wherever, and you could potentially come across some proverbial Cheetos in the spirit realm.
Some wicked Cheetos.
Where and then that wickedness is like attached to your fingertips.
Yeah.
Just from being out in the marketplace or wherever you was, and it's necessary before you take in a thing to kind of ceremonially remove all of those things from yourself, from a traditional standpoint. And so when we look over here at what it is that they're accusing Yeshua of, and first of all, we know that Yeshua lived and walked in this earth, and he was blameless according to the Torah. And so whatever it was that they were accusing him of doing, it couldn't have anything to do with sin.
Yeah.
This was 100% dealing with the traditions of the people at the time, and it didn't have anything to do with an actual command that was given by the Most High. And so Yeshua didn't do this ceremonial thing, and they, of course, it says, were amazed by this thing. And then Yeshua says to them, read again verse 39 there.
39. And the master said to him, now you Pharisees make the outside of the cup and dish clean, but your inward part is filled with greed and wickedness.
Okay, very good. So it's interesting that, Yeshua here, he talks about the cup. He talks about the dish, and then he flips over to the youth, the person, the Pharisees, the people, these accusers. And it's kind of speaking about the one and kind of referencing the other. He's talking about the dish and the cup that they use to fill up with water and to do this traditional blessing thing. But he compares the Pharisee to the cup, which is this thing. It's this vessel that they use, and it's clean, but it's quote unquote clean, but inside it's filthy. And he's referencing the cup, but he's talking about the Pharisees and saying, you're doing these things, and these things that you do have the appearance of cleanliness, but inside you're filled with wickedness, with unrighteousness. really you're filthy.
Yep.
He said in verse 40, mindless ones. What's that say in the King James, verse 40?
You fools.
He calls them fools.
Then you look at that word. That is, or properly mindless, that is stupid,
Oh my goodness.
ignorant, egotistic, rash, unbelieving, unwise.
Wow, it's harsh, right? He's very harsh to these people who sit up here and they're trying to say something about him. And meanwhile, these people are, he's saying, stupid,
Yeah.
mindless fools. And then he asks the question, did not he who made the outside make the inside also? Which is an interesting question, but it seems that he's asking this question rightly because they pay so much attention to the outside and to what's visible, to what's able to be seen. And they make sure to make sure that they cross all of the T's and dot all the I's as regards to having the outside be clean. And they're doing all of this to the Most High, to the Almighty. And so he's trying to help them to understand the same way that the same Elohim that you're serving in doing all of these external things, that same Elohim is the Elohim of the internal things, and you're not treating these things equal. And then he kind of puts the period on it with read verse 41 right there.
But give in kindness that which is within, and see all are clean to you.
And so he's about to just continue, he's beginning here and dealing with these people who are, they're trying to come up against Yeshua in a way that causes Yeshua here really kind of to snap on them. he's not being soft or caring or holding back in any way.
Yeah.
As it relates to dealing with these people. They sat up here, and you sit up here and you want to talk to me about this thing that you're doing, these traditions that you've created, but meanwhile, you are as filthy as what you think I might be being by not doing this ceremony thing.
Yep. Some people gotta be snapped on.
That's true. Right? And these are the ones, because these are the ones who should know better.
Right.
This isn't somebody who's kind of blindly going about their day and doing things in a way that is not connected to knowledge. Like, these people are the ones who should know better. And so this is why kind of we see Yeshua kind of, takes the gloves, he takes the proverbial gloves off on these people and just talks crazy to them and says, "You fool."
Especially they're supposed to be the smartest. And then he said, "You mindless." You don't got no mind. What you And
so again, let's look at 42 here. Read verse 42 again for us.
But woe to you Pharisees, because you tithe the mint and the rue of every plant, and pass by the right ruling and the love of Elohim. These you should have done, without leaving the others undone.
So he goes kind of to the smallest thing, the mint, and these thick plants that you want to give the first parts of these things to the Most High. But how's that read in the King James here? But pass by the right ruling of
Just read the whole thing.
yeah, it's real.
But woe unto you Pharisees, for you tithe mint and rue, and all manner of herbs, and pass over judgment and the love of Elohim. These ought you have done, and not leave the other of them.
So as it relates to judgment, as it relates to right ruling, as it relates to the actual love of the Most High, the love of Elohim, they pass over those things. The things that actually have to do with emulating the character of the Most High, which is what it is that the Torah actually does in you and I. As it relates to that, it says that they pass over those things. But then they want to be, so serious about these smallest things and do those things.
It's crazy to me that they would sit there and be so mindful of the tithe. That's like what's root. It's like leaves, the smallest little thing.
Yes, and they're so serious about that. But it's kind of like par for the course in terms of what it is that they're talking about. They bring Yeshua over here. They're trying to give him some food. He sits down to eat, and then they want to talk about this tradition that he skips over to just deal with just what's going on, which is the eating thing. And so when we look over here and when Yeshua's speaking against them, and it's interesting that he says, these you should have done. Go ahead and tithe those things. Do that. Tithe the mint, tithe the rue in every plant. But don't leave undone these other things. Don't leave undone righteous judgment and the love of Elohim.
We got a comment. It says, I think the children of Israel were confused because it seemed in the wilderness the Most High was focused on physical things like washing before they went in the Holy of Holies exactly what to wear. So I think they became more preoccupied with the physical things, the outward things, more than the inward.
I mean, that's exactly what happened. Right? They 100% became more preoccupied with the outside as opposed to the inside. But Yeshua here is saying, do both. You're supposed to be doing both of these things. These you should have done. Those things that you do that. But don't leave these other things undone. And so Yeshua got all types of problems with these Pharisees. And so when they sat up there, when they got him started, when they poked at the bear, with this whole thing about this whole hand washing thing, he said, oh no, you didn't. I know that you ain't sitting up here talking. Because now I got something to say to you. He said, whoa. What do it mean? What did that word there, whoa?
But
Me.
whoa. Light.
Hmm?
Light.
Oh, ooh,
Why?
I mean, I don't gotta know what the Greek word is. What do it mean?
Alas. I don't know.
Oh,
A primary exclamation of grief.
it's an exclamation of grief.
Misery and pitying. Disaster. Calamity.
Misery.
Okay, so this word here, let's see here. It is
Great sorrow, distress.
denouncing misery and pity. Oh, it's interesting. If we go to the word study and go down to the middle where it says, as an onomatopoeia, an imitation of the sound, onomatopoeia, it is indeclinable, a woe, disaster. And so it's this word that sounds like disaster. Right? It's this exclamation that sounds like the thing that is trying to cause you to think about, which is disaster and pity. And so there's nothing good about this thing. So let's go over to let's see, 43. Read 43 again for us. There.
Woe to you, Pharisees, because you love the best seats in the congregation and the greetings in the marketplace.
Okay, so he's all over the place now. Yeshua is just, he's relentless against them. He's bringing up all of these things. He begins by speaking about that they're sitting up here trying to clean the outside, but they haven't worried about cleaning the inside. They pay attention to the most tedious of things as it relates to the Torah, and don't at all. They totally pass by judgment and the love of Elohim. And then also, they love to be in the best seats in the congregation, and they love the greetings that they receive in the market. They love a piece. Oh, Rabbi. It's so good to see you here out. And they love for people to just come up and just greet them, and the popularity. They love to have this status that they have. They love to be seen and recognized, maybe not so much touched. But they love to be recognized out in the marketplaces. They love to be seated in the best places. They, kind of part of the custom was, the most highest, the chiefest person would always be seated first in the congregation. He would always have the prime seat, right up close in the front. If it was the congregation, if it was the table where they were reclining, he would always have kind of the central spots at the table where all things kind of moved out from where he was. Right? That was the best seat, was kind of the in the front and seated first. And the most honor and respect will be given to that person. But these people, they're seeking these places out because of the fact that they desire this status. They desire this popularity. They want someone to look at them, look at me. Right? This is pride.
Yep.
And so when we think about this thing that Yeshua is pointing out about them, all of the things that he's pointing out about them don't have anything to do with things that emulate the character of the Most High. In fact, it's the opposite. So he says, woe to you. Right? I pity you for behaving in this way. 44. Read 44.
Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you are like the unseen tombs of the men walking over them do not know.
Okay, this is an interesting one here. This is interesting because, you think about, you go to, especially when we go to, my mom would sometimes take us over to the cemetery where like my great grandparents were. Well, where their remains are. Their remains literally are there. And so there was a black side and there was a white side. And on the black side, the markers, some didn't have markers, and the other ones were like low, where if the grass grew up a little bit, you wouldn't even be able to see it. And then on the other side, they had the big markers where you could see the nice ones. The grass could grow up a little more on that side because it didn't matter because they had these big markers over there. But when you have these markers that were covered over, that were unkept, you wouldn't be able to find them. And literally men walking over them, they would walk over them and not know. But when we think about a little bit what it is that Yeshua's getting really deep right here when he's talking, when he says this in relation to the scribes and the Pharisees, because this actually is kind of a thing. This idea of markers, grave markers being covered over, overgrown, unkept. These places that appear to be something that they're not, that they aren't. They appear to be just regular ground, but actually they're grave markers there.
Is he saying they're the walking dead?
No. He's talking about the fact that if you have a grave marker that appears to be grass, it appears to be this regular thing. But if you was to walk on that grass, this place where these graves were, you could potentially defile yourself. Because you're walking over these graves and you don't know it. I mean, it's one thing to purposely go to a place and know that you will be in this quote-unquote unclean situation, and then when you go there, you go and do the things that's necessary to cause yourself to be clean again.
Yeah.
But if you go to a place and inadvertently become unclean, now you're in transgression and you don't even know it. And so because you've unintentionally trespassed, it don't mean that you didn't trespass. Because according to the scriptures, you still have to deal with something that you've done, even though you don't know that you did it. Just look over at Leviticus 5 and 17. Leviticus 5 and verse 17.
Leviticus 5 and 17. And when any being sins and has done what is not to be done against any of the commands of Yahweh, though he knew it not, yet he shall be guilty and shall bear his crookedness.
That thing said, the King James say, though he wist not. I don't know what kind of word that is. Wist, because he wist not. But what we read there, because he know it not, that word yada.
Yes.
Because he didn't have any knowledge of it. That's the reason why he did it. But yet he is guilty.
Yep.
And he bears his iniquity. It don't matter if he knows that he did it or if he don't know. He's still guilty, right? Mm-hmm. And so Yeshua, he's saying this thing. It's an interesting thing that he's going to when he's dealing with these people. When he says this thing about because you are like the unseen tombs and the men walking over them do not know. Imagine if the man that's walking is a Nazarite. Imagine if the man that's walking is a Nazarite. A Nazarite could never become unclean because of the dead. And so now because of an unseen tomb that he comes across inadvertently, he got to reset his whole vow. He got to start over again. Mm-hmm. And he's calling these scribes Pharisees and hypocrites. He's calling these scribes and Pharisees hypocrites because they're acting as this unseen tomb. They're acting as the reason why people are going astray and trespassing and ending up in bad situations with the Most High because they're not causing the things that actually cause them to be in trespass. They're not causing those things to be able to be seen by the people.
It's like a silent hand, a silent trick. You know?
They're trapping
They're
people.
trapping people.
The people following them, but because of the fact that they're not causing things to be seen for what they actually are, they're causing them to go astray. But the people will be punished as a result, though.
Yeah.
It's not it, but it's their fault. Not the people, but the scribes and the Pharisees. Mm-hmm. Here, look over at Jeremiah 50:6 and 7.
Jeremiah 50 verse 6. My people have been wandering sheep. The shepherds have led them astray, turning them away on the mountains. They have gone from mountain to hill. They have forgotten their resting place. All who found them have devoured them. Their adversaries have said, we are not guilty because they have sinned against Yahweh, the home of righteousness and the expectation of their fathers, Yahweh.
Okay, very good. So this is an interesting verse here. You talk about these lost sheep. The sheep, they're lost. But it's the shepherds that's leading them and causing them to be lost. And it says that they can't find, they've forgotten actually their resting place. They don't even know where to go to find a rest. They're going from mountain to hill, it says. They're just wandering from place to place. None of these places is where they're supposed to be. But they're just going from one place to another, and all of the places are wrong. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting in verse 7, where it talks about all the ones that find them where they are, devour them, and they have a particular attitude about it. Mm-hmm. As if to say, we're okay, like we're in the right. The adversaries, we offend not. They have the thought that they're actually operating as the hand of the Most High and judgment against the people, us, the people, and they're good. They have the attitude like I can treat you really any way I want to treat you. In fact, I have a better understanding of your Elohim than you do. And I'm able to execute his judgment against you and be good. Because you never shouldn't have been cutting up in the first place. So you getting everything that you deserve.
Yep.
I'm saying all that just to say the people though, they are in fact suffering because of the shepherds that's leading them astray. They're not found guiltless. They're actually guilty. And again, if we go back to Luke, Yeshua is framing this in the context of these unseen tombs that people are walking on. These places that cause people to become unclean, that have been covered over and causing people to inadvertently sin. That's what the scribes and Pharisees are doing. The people are following after the scribes and the Pharisees, not necessarily even what it is that they're saying, but the way that they are. Because Yeshua said, do the things that they're saying, tithe the mint, tithe the root, but do the judgment though. Love Elohim. They're being hypocrites, but people are looking at them being hypocrites and saying, well, they do it, I guess I can do it too. But Yeshua is pointing out the fact that they are causing people to trespass. Here, this is funny. Read 45 and 46.
And one of those learned in Torah, answering, said to him, Teacher, when you say this, you insult us too. And he said, Woe to you also. You learned in the Torah, because you load men with burdens hard to hear, and you yourself do not touch the burdens with one of your fingers.
Now, it's interesting that this lawyer here, this one who's learned in Torah, he heard what Yeshua said about the unseen tomb thing, and then he caught on to what he was saying. Right? And then he said, hold on, you talk about me too. Like you said scribes and Pharisees, but you talking about me. But the point continues with the fact that these people, these lawyers, these scribes, these Pharisees, they're saying one thing to the people. They're putting demands on the people. They're putting these burdens on the people for them to carry. And it said, you yourself do not even touch the burdens with one of your fingers. Imagine talking about you sitting up here trying to talk to somebody about lifting this heavy thing, and you're talking about how heavy this thing was, but I don't really care how heavy it is. You just got to lift that thing up. Get over there and pick that thing up. Meanwhile, you're not even trying to not let alone help, but not even just touch this thing with one finger.
I did that to his people before. Like, you can do it.
Don't even know what it feels like.
Then I tried it. It was that chair, that big reclining chair from my mom's house, up all those steps. I thought it was going to be easy to take me down the steps. Then I tried to help him, but I was like, oh.
Yeah. Then you found
Now
out.
you see. Now you see.
That's perfect, because think about that and what Yeshua is saying over here. These people are putting these demands on the people, and they can't even begin to even comprehend what that burden even feels like to the slightest degree. They can't put one finger on it. So they could tell the people all day, every day, what they need to be doing, this and that, but they ain't doing it. That's the problem. Hypocrites. Yeshua said, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees. Hypocrites. This other part is interesting. Here, let's read again 47 through 50.
Woe to you, because you build the tombs of the prophets, and your fathers killed them. So you bear witness that you approve of the works of your fathers, because they indeed killed them, and you build their tombs. And because of this, the wisdom of Elohim said, I shall send them prophets and emissaries, and some of them they shall kill and persecute, so that the blood of the prophets, which was shed from the foundation of the world, shall be required of this generation.
Okay, very good. This is interesting because, in that area where they were, there were places where it was thought that this prophet was this prophet or that prophet. And then so they would go and then they would build kind of like how we talked about in the Torah portion with this memorial. And so they would build up these graves where it's like they would turn a grave into a tomb. Like this, like almost as if it was this kind of how you think about you was to go over to the land right now, you would go to all of these historic quote unquote sites of this one's tomb or that one's tomb. And so they're building up these places that were the supposed graves of this one or that one. And so they venerate these prophets of old, but yet they're emulating the ways of the ones who killed them. They're emulating the ways of the ones who persecuted the prophets. And so they're in one breath, they're kind of saying they're giving honor to the prophet, but in the way that they're giving honor to the one who was against the prophet. And so their behavior, the things that they're doing, is hypocritical. And it's the exact opposite of what it is that they're supposed to be doing as the scribes and the Pharisees and the law breakers. And so he says to them here, lastly, what's that say there in verse 52?
Woe to you, learn in the Torah, because you took away the key of knowledge. You do not enter in yourselves, but those who are entering in you hinder.
Okay, that's very interesting. And so think about what we would think about as what the key of knowledge even is. It said, You don't enter in yourself, and those who are entering, you're hindering. Well, Yeshua just told us in the earlier in this chapter earlier about being the door. Yeshua is the door, and you can't enter in but through him. When we think about the key, of knowledge, that's Yeshua. When we go back to the scriptures, when we go back to the Torah and understand it the way that it's supposed to be understood, it should be pointing us towards Messiah. It should be showing us Yeshua. But it says, they removed that. You took that away. They're not going in that way. And those that are trying to go in that way, they hinder. When you truly look and understand the Torah and see what it truly is something that causes you to walk in the character of the Most High. And these people, these hypocrites, these fools, these mindless ones are doing the exact opposite of that. And those who are trying to do it, they hinder. And so when we think about, these people, these ones who are supposed to be the ones who are leading the people in rightness, it's important for us to understand that the main thing that Yeshua has against these people is the fact that they aren't actually doing the things that they're calling for other people to be doing. If they was doing the things, he wouldn't have anything to say against them. But they're not doing the things, and that's the issue. And so, when we think about, people and the things that people have to say about the Pharisees, I think it's important for us to be able to understand that the issue with the Pharisees is that they were hypocrites. Not that they told people to do bad things or not even things that they wasn't supposed to be doing. It's the fact that they told people to do good things and they themselves wasn't able to do the good things. Oftentimes the people sit up here and they talk about people and say that, you just like the Pharisees. Well, in what way? Is it in a way that, because I want to walk around in righteousness and do and say and promote righteousness? Because if it's in that way, that's fine with me. But if you're trying to say that I'm doing it in a way that Yeshua talks about the people and I'm saying for you that you should be doing this or that, and then I'm not doing it myself, then okay, then yes, that's not that I'm doing that, but I'm saying if that's what it is that you mean, I understand that. Because the issue that we see that Yeshua is bringing up with the Pharisees is the fact that they are sayers, but they're not doers. And he's not talking against the saying. He's talking against the fact that they don't do. And so, we have to be able to understand that, Yeshua's problem wasn't with them in just the simple fact that they had all of these things to say and do. His problem with the Pharisees is that they wasn't doers of the things that they was trying to say.
And they want to accolades, like they was doing.
They wanted to act like they was right, when in all actuality they was wrong. They was all the way wrong. And so they're the worst kind of hypocrites because they were behaving in a way that totally denied, any responsibility for the things that they was doing, which was all bad. And so again, just kind of in closing, it's interesting to look at the way that Yeshua talks to the Pharisees here, because he didn't deal with regular people like this. He didn't deal with people, the quote unquote unlearned people in this way. But the people who should have known better, he talked to them however he wanted to talk to them, and he didn't hold back because they actually should have known better than what it was that they were actually doing. And so, just kind of for us to kind of think about some things, we have to be able to be careful to not slip into this category of these Pharisees, these people who have all of these things that are quote unquote known of the Most High and His ways, and putting various demands on people while you aren't even trying to even touch the burden. We have to be both sayers and doers of the word. We have to be perfect examples of the character of the Most High. I'm saying perfect examples in that, we walk out this life that we live. We don't just read about it, but we do it, we say it, and we do it. When Yeshua talks about the idea of the speck and the log in one's eye, he requires for somebody to be able to deal with their own situations so that they're able to rightly look at someone else's situation and then deal with it, with their situation. Not sitting up there looking at somebody and talking to them about this or that and not doing this and not doing that while you're doing it. Right?
And I think that children are the ones, the family, they can see it the most. You know what I mean? Like, you're out here going saying these things in a house in privacy of your own space. They can see that weakness. But I had like an example that was it's not even that serious of an example. I remember someone, they went in on a fast with someone else. The other person was saying they were going to do this fast and it was going to be like this long and for this reason. And they went in on a fast and with that person, and they called the person up at night and they was like, I'm so hungry, blah, 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 they was talking about it. And the person was like, I don't know what it was, they had maybe some fried fish and hush puppies or something like that. And it was like, well, I thought we were supposed to be fasting. Like, you was the one who set the fast up. But the way they had set it up, they was planning on eating at night, like after the sun went down or whatever. But, I'm just thinking about it like the other person's interpretation of the fast was like, we was really fasting, like, for all this time. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of like just that type of a thought process going on this on the intentional side of them intentionally telling people, we're doing all of this stuff and then like really expecting for the other people to do all of that. Mm-hmm. But meanwhile, they're not doing it at all. So they're not taking on a burden that, you know what I mean? Like, that was just an example that came to me. And it wasn't intentional that the other person was saying it. But, it made the other person feel a certain kind of way. Like, wow, I thought we really was fasting.
Yeah, and I guess, just kind of, when you think about it in the context of the Pharisees and all of that, it's just that, whether we say that it was intentional or unintentional, the idea is that the fact of the matter is that they weren't doing the things that they were requiring of the people, and they were expecting to be treated in such a way that they were just so this and that. But meanwhile, in actuality, they weren't. And so, we have to, just be careful and sure that our relationship with the Master is so that, we are rightly imitating his works and his life and his character in this world, so that no one's able to look at us and say, that person, they just like those Pharisees, right? But we have to be like how Yeshua was, where he lived out this life, and he gives us the perfect example for us to be able to emulate his life and know that righteousness looks away and it's both inside and it's out. So that being said, does anybody have any last questions? Okay, so we will be done for now. Y'all willing, we'll be back on next Shabbat to continue with both our look at the annual Torah portion and the words of the Master. But until then, for now, we'll say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.